live now with my friend Arsen Ostrovsky, who is the director for International Legal Forum. That's right, isn't it?
That's correct.
Yeah. Hello, Arsen.
Hi, Conrad. Always good to be with you and our friends from MIF. We're really here in Israel. First of all, it's always good to be with you, but it's even better to be with you in Jerusalem.
Yeah.
I love Oslo, but it's even better to be here in the beautiful capital of Jerusalem. But what I love about what your organization does, we often think here in Israel sometimes that we are alone, that we don't have friends, that the world is against us and Europe is against us. But you guys show time and time again that you stand with Israel, no matter the situation. And from someone here to reiterate again how much we deeply appreciate that, all the effort you do, all the advocacy, all the standing up, all the combating BDS and anti-Semitism and the bias, how important it is and how very, very deeply valued it is.
Great. So if you guys following the live stream have any questions, we have the first heart here from Anna.
Yep.
See, you have
thank you.
Fans in I
have
Scandinavia.
One fan. I'll take that. I'll take that.
Yeah. So Arsen and I are joining a conference here in Jerusalem where we get updates of current affairs in Israel and the Middle East. We just heard a briefing about Iran and why is Iran such a big threat to the Jewish state, Arsen?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about you, but on the one hand, I found it a very depressing conversation. Understanding how deep the threat is and how real the threat is, because for Israel, this is an existential threat. Iran is very clear. They want a nuclear weapon, and they want to see the destruction of the Jewish state. And if history has taught us anything, it is to take the word of those enemies who seek harm to us. So on the one hand, it was very depressing hearing the gravity of the situation. On the other hand, there were some positive takeaways as well in terms of some of the many steps that have been taken in terms of sanctions, in terms of some of the joint mutual military exercises, and some of the steps being taken to eliminate Iranian terrorists and those that are responsible for some of these mechanisms. One thing perhaps we could have spoken a bit more is perhaps the role that Europeans have to play in this in terms of their relations with Iran, in terms of not just vis-a-vis Iranian support for the weapons for Palestinian terror groups, which is also very important because it's Iranian money that goes to fund groups like Hamas, like Islamic Jihad, and so on.
Maybe we should try to speak a little bit up because the music may be not the best for the live stream. Steinar says it's really good to follow the live stream. What can European friends of Israel do to help Israel in the battle against Iran?
Look, I think there are many things. I think it's important to push and underscore the importance of not only maintaining the sanctions that are in place on Iran at the moment, but upping these sanctions because the more money that goes towards the Iranian regime, that means not only more money that they have to build and produce the military weapons, but also the more money they have to support global terrorist activities, and specifically money which they funnel to groups like Hamas, Islamic Jihad, and so on here in the Palestinian territories that commit these acts of terror. Because these groups operate, and we have to remember this, they are Iranian proxies, and Hezbollah, of course, as well. They don't operate independently. They will not move without instructions from Iran. So I think it's also important to make that connection, and it's important also to make the connection between Iran and Ukraine as well, and what is happening with the war with Russia.
Yeah, because that's a very good question that we got from a viewer here. It says, here you go. Does Iran's involvement in the Russian war in Ukraine change the situation at all? Can Israel and others join together against Iran?
Well, it certainly does change the situation, I think, quite dramatically, and I think something else from the international community I think needs to understand that, you know, it's almost as if wherever there's death, terror, destruction in the region, it is Iran's tentacles, it is Iran's fingerprints. Where Iran goes, death, terror, and destruction follows. I think we need to understand that. And that's not only with respect to the Palestinian groups, but it's also with respect to what is happening between Russia and Ukraine. We know that there are Iranian drones that are being used by the Russians. We know that the Iranians are providing other material support to Russia in their campaign against Ukraine. So I think that does change things quite dramatically, not only with the way the Europeans need to respond, but also perhaps certainly with Israel's response as well.
Yeah. Yesterday, Israel was again attacked by terrorists. Two brothers killed. Maybe you could give us an update of what happened.
Yeah, I mean, it was really quite it was a tragic situation and just another senseless murder where we had to bury another pair of brothers. And the attack was really quite gruesome. The Palestinian terrorist rammed them with his car, and then he got out of the car and point blank shot them while they were sitting in their car in cold blood. Vicious execution. There were two brothers aged 21 and 19. This, of course, follows another attack in Jerusalem just a few weeks ago where two brothers aged 6 and 8 were murdered in another car ramming. And I think it's important also for us to understand here that attacks like this do not occur in a vacuum. They don't occur out of thin air. This is a direct result of this vicious and relentless incitement, infrastructure incitement headed up by the Palestinian Authority, which, by the way, has not condemned neither the terror attack on the two small boys aged 6 and 8 a few weeks ago, nor the attack just the other night. So not only are they not condemning these attacks, they're now going to be funding and rewarding these murderers with their pay to slay policies. So we have to remember this doesn't occur in a vacuum. It is a result of this relentless incitement, including by the PA, which rewards, incentivizes, and glorifies this kind of gruesome murder of Israelis.
And sponsored, sad to say, by Norway and other European governments.
Indeed, it's not only Norway, but of course, but other European governments. Even in the attacks we've seen now, the Europeans are not even able to mention the word Palestinian terrorist attack. They have no problems condemning and singling out and naming Israel, but they refuse to even condemn the Palestinians or the Palestinian Authority. And at the end of the day, the money which the Palestinians pay, it's this pay-to-slay policy where they reward murderers of Israelis, not just Jews, but Israelis, and the more they murder, the more salaries they get in their families. This is something like $400 million a year, and this is money that predominantly comes from the Europeans. The Americans at least have the Taylor Force Act now, which really diminished the money coming to them, but the Europeans are still writing out blank check after blank check, and we need to put a stop to that.
Yeah. Alex from Sweden asked, the death penalty will come in the near future?
It's something that's certainly being debated and advanced here in Israel. It's certainly being discussed more and more in terms of having a more forceful response to terrorism. That's one part of it. Another aspect they're talking about is stripping citizenship from terrorists and removing them from Israel and requiring them to go, whether to Gaza, West Bank, or elsewhere as well.
Yeah. Arsen and I need to head off for the next session of the conference, but Arsen, thanks again for joining, and thanks to all you viewers. Remember to go back in the video archive from yesterday, where you could see me live streaming from the streets of Jerusalem, and remember to like and share. And Alexis, thank you.
Thank you, Conrad, and thank you to all our amazing friends from miff. We really do appreciate your friendship and support.